When it comes to family and business, emotions often mix with logic in unpredictable ways. This story begins with two brothers, raised in the same house but walking very different paths. One of them was quiet, creative, and focused on building something meaningful, while the other was loud, confident, and always seeking quick success. The younger brother spent months working on a business idea, a platform that connected small local artisans directly with buyers, cutting out middlemen and giving craftsmen more profit. It wasn't just a project to him, it was his dream. He believed in creating impact, not just income. Late nights turned into early mornings as he designed prototypes, researched markets, and built his pitch presentation. But like many young entrepreneurs, he made one mistake. He shared too much, too early. His brother, who often belittled his ambitions, took a special interest when he realized the idea had potential. One day, while the younger one was away, he copied the pitch deck, renamed it, and presented it to some local investors as his own. When the younger brother found out, the shock was paralyzing. Betrayal from a stranger hurts, but betrayal from your own blood cuts deeper. Yet instead of reacting impulsively, he made a decision that would define his future. He stayed silent. He wanted to see how far this theft could go and what lessons it might bring. The older brother managed to impress a few small investors at first. He had charisma, confidence, and a way of making people believe in him. The problem was, he didn't have depth. He didn't understand the product, the technology, or the market the way his brother did. In the world of startups, data is the lifeblood of decision-making, and he had none. According to entrepreneurship data, nearly 90% of startups fail within the first 5 years because of lack of market understanding or poor execution, not because of lack of ideas. This case was heading in the same direction. As weeks passed, investors started asking for metrics, models, and financial projections. The older brother's shallow understanding started showing cracks. Meanwhile, the younger brother quietly refined his version, building an actual working model, integrating analytics, and gathering user feedback. He didn't post about it online. He didn't argue or seek pity. He focused on progress. When the investors reached a point of frustration with the older brother's inconsistent answers, they decided to reach out directly to someone who seemed to know more about the concept, the younger one. They had found his name in the early design drafts that had accidentally been left in the shared files. The email they sent changed everything. They invited him for a meeting to understand the original version of the concept. He arrived at the investor office, calm and prepared. What followed wasn't revenge, it was clarity. He walked them through the actual vision, market strategy, and live demo of the platform. The numbers spoke louder than words. He showed that the global market for handmade crafts had grown over 20% in 3 years, that over 70% of local artisans struggled because of middlemen, and that his model directly solved this problem by reducing commissions by half. The investors were not just impressed, they were stunned. When they compared both versions, the difference was obvious. One was all talk, the other was substance. Within a few weeks, the funding offer came in, to the younger brother. The older one found out through social media when the startup's launch announcement went viral. For a moment, he was furious. Then he was silent, because deep down, he knew that this wasn't luck. It was discipline. The story reveals an important truth about success in today's world. Ideas are cheap. Execution is priceless. According to global innovation surveys, thousands of people come up with similar ideas daily, but only a handful turn them into real businesses. The gap between thinking and doing is what defines winners. Many underestimate this. They chase quick recognition instead of mastering their craft. When asked later about how he felt, the younger brother said he never wanted revenge. He just wanted to build something real. He admitted that seeing his own brother take credit was painful, but it taught him that sometimes the best revenge is quiet progress. The investors who initially heard both sides even commented that the professionalism of the younger brother was what convinced them. This story reflects a growing trend in entrepreneurship. family dynamics entering business in complex ways. Data shows that over 35% of new business disputes in small startups involve family members or close friends. Emotional attachment can cloud judgment, leading to decisions based on ego rather than logic. Yet, it's also within these relationships that some of the strongest motivations emerge. The younger brother's journey wasn't just about proving someone wrong, it was about proving himself right. His patience turned into leverage, his silence became strategy, and his consistency became credibility. Investors don't just fund ideas, they fund character, vision, and execution capability. Every number he presented, every prototype he built, showed that he wasn't just chasing validation, he was solving a real problem. Months after the company launched, it started gaining attention in the media. The platform began connecting hundreds of artisans and small sellers, giving them access to direct buyers globally. Reviews were overwhelmingly positive. For many local workers, their income doubled within months of joining. The younger brother's startup became an example of ethical entrepreneurship, not built on deception, but on integrity. Meanwhile, the older brother's reputation declined. People began to see him differently. The same charisma that once impressed them now seemed hollow. He approached his younger brother once, asking if there was space for collaboration. The response he received was calm but clear. Respect can be rebuilt, but trust, once broken, takes time. Psychologically, this moment represented a power shift, not in money or status, but in respect. Studies in business psychology show that forgiveness and boundary setting are key for long-term leadership success. The younger brother didn't gloat or hold grudges. He let his work speak. He didn't have to shout that he was right. His results did it for him. The investors who once doubted him began inviting him to share his story at business events. He spoke about resilience, innovation, and ethics. How, in an era where everyone is chasing shortcuts, patience becomes your biggest competitive advantage. He talked about how emotional intelligence and strategic thinking often separate true leaders from opportunists. The numbers supported his message. Data from entrepreneurship analytics shows that startups with ethical foundations and transparent operations are 40% more likely to sustain for over 10 years. Trust and accountability are not just moral values, they are business assets. Over time, his company expanded internationally. He reinvested profits into training programs for young entrepreneurs, teaching them how to protect intellectual property, validate market ideas, and handle personal betrayal professionally. This approach not only empowered others, but turned his painful experience into purpose. His brother eventually moved on to other ventures, humbled by experience. Though their relationship was strained, there was mutual understanding. The older one learned respect, and the younger one learned boundaries. Both changed, but in very different ways. This story, though deeply personal, reflects something universal. Every creative person faces a moment when someone doubts, copies, or steals their work. The reaction in that moment defines your path. Many destroy themselves in anger. Few build themselves through silence. The younger brother chose the latter, and that made all the difference. The message here is simple yet powerful. Never let betrayal distract you from your mission. People can take your ideas, but they can't take your vision, your discipline, or your talent. Those are your true assets. Success built on integrity doesn't need revenge. It speaks for itself. In today's fast-moving startup ecosystem, thousands of similar stories unfold quietly. According to business data, around 15% of startups report having some level of intellectual idea conflict, often within small teams or families. The difference between losing everything and rising stronger is how you respond. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. When you stay focused on your long-term goals, those who tried to exploit your efforts eventually expose themselves. This story reminds everyone, young entrepreneurs, dreamers, and creators, that real success doesn't need validation from others. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. The brother's betrayal was temporary, his growth was permanent. And when the investors finally called him, it wasn't luck. It was the result of patience, persistence, and principle, the true foundation of lasting success.